Let's go. I was hoping we'd get something like this.
I figured you've had enough 30-something crypto bros on the show, so it's time for a anime cat girl to be on here.
Amen.
Great to
How are we
see
doing
you,
today, sir?
Really nice. Middle of the night down in Asia Pacific, but hanging on tight.
Yeah, we
The
appreciate
one
it.
time zone that we do not serve very well with is 11 a.m. time slot. So thanks for hopping on.
Crypto never has.
But we
happy to do it.
can't see the bags under your eyes, so good choice. Yeah, so you're the co-founder of Galverse, which is one of Japan's most successful NFT projects, and you guys recently premiered your anime pilot episode after a few years of production, which has 700,000 views on YouTube, and I've heard great reviews from the people that have watched it. So can you just maybe catch us up on the journey you've been on to today? So you launched your NFT collection in 2022. Have you just kind of been heads down on the anime since, or what has the last couple of years looked like?
It's been a big mix, right? And first thing I'll say, Josh, is we're about 700,000 views, but you should make that 700,001 after this. Make sure you go and watch it. Every view counts. But yeah, we launched April 2022, which, if you remember, was basically the week that ETH like tumbled off a cliff and NFTs died. I think we were maybe like 2 weeks before royalties kind of stopped being a thing. So definitely launched at an interesting time. But I think today, we're still one of the biggest kind of NFT projects to come out of Japan. And we had a mission day one, which was make an anime. My co-founder Ayaka, who's in Tokyo, she's the artist and the director of the Galverse anime. She's amazing. Like, her art's next level. She'd done a lot of independent kind of animation before, like doing music video things and music videos and stuff like that. But she'd actually never worked for the studio. So we stupidly had no idea what went into making an anime. And that was our 3-year journey. That was like finding a studio to work with us, learning the ropes of like how to do that, coming in as total amateurs with outrageous, requests. Like we were bringing our whole community along for the journey and showing them that behind the scenes process. And I will say, like, it's a closed door industry that we're not ready for that discussion. So it's been a while. It's been a journey, like you said.
Maybe just to level set, because I'm just, I'm not a huge anime guy, though I have a friend who says that the only entertainment she consumes is anime, which blew my mind. Can you maybe level set us a little bit? Like give us a sense of the scale of that industry.
It's massive. I mean, I think now Netflix, like in Japan, I think the stats are like 90% of people in Japan watch anime like at least once a week. And I think now in the US, they say it's like 50% of the audience watches anime at least once a week. And if you told me that when I was like a teenager, watching Akira on VHS, like which, there was one copy at the video store, I would never believe you in a million years. So it's turned from this kind of like nerdy otaku thing into like a global mainstream phenomenon, and it's huge, like, and that's where most of, like, I guess the money in the industry now is actually the overseas audience. So it's blown up beyond what anyone thinks. And Jess, like, I think your friend is probably like the normal person these days. So many people are anime first before anything else.
I've been watching One Piece, which is like one of the sickest shows I've ever seen, truly.
It's awesome, actually. A quick anecdote: one of my other co-founders, Devin, has a One Piece tattoo on his arm, and that was a huge like credibility boost for us when we were walking into the studios to start with. He'd kind of just slide that arm on the table, and then they'd see the tattoo. So,
nice. Can you maybe fill us in on what the community experience of Galverse is? Like, how did they participate in the production of the anime, and maybe kind of shed some light on what actually goes into the production of an anime?
Yeah, I mean, to give you an idea, I think for the OVA, like the pilot episode we produced, something like 150 people have had their hands on it purely on the production side. I'm not talking about the community. I'm talking about animators, producers, like music creators, engineers, everything. So it's like a huge undertaking to make anything like this. And the pilot episode took us about 2 years in the end, which if you're doing a series, like, it probably wouldn't be much longer, but some things scale, and like, the studio was working on other projects at the time. So, and there's some things just take a long time to do. So we kind of stepped into that again, thinking it would take us about half as long, which is always nice when you're putting a timeline on a project, but we launched with this goal. Like we had our little motto, which was Wagma, we're all going to make an anime. And I think that helped us a lot, like having a mission from day one. We weren't one of those NFT projects that like launches with a cool pick and like no one knows what goes on now. Like once number stops going up, people leave. Like people really believed in that mission that we were going to make an anime. So every day I got out of bed, you know, with a bit of dirt in my eyes, like let's get this done because people are excited about this project. And yeah, we involve people in everything, like character design. You know, they've written lines in the scripts. They gal NFTs, like their characters have appeared in the anime. They helped us cast the voice actors, and like some of this stuff, they, you know, I'd even forget about it. Like they gave us suggestions 2 years ago, and then like we're just making the announcement of like the voice actors, you know, a few months ago. So yeah, it's huge. It's a big production, big timelines.
So I'm very curious about the sort of closed industry that you're participating in here. You know, I think there's an old adage, I can't remember who said it, but if I knew how hard it was going to be to do X, I wouldn't have started in the first place. So there's some ignorance is bliss that gets you moving here. But yeah, give us a sense of some of like the big barriers that you had to overcome to get this thing done.
I think just like the procedures are so obscure and like they're not shared very much. Like even budgets and timelines and things are like very closely guarded secrets. The publishers like don't share that with anyone. So unless you've worked in that industry a long time, you just wouldn't have any concept of that. And like we launched the project, initially 4 of us on the team. You know, Aika, her job is to make amazing creative art and like direct the anime. So basically all the commercial stuff actually landed on my lap because I was kind of the main guy in the team with any sort of like corporate experience. And I was getting handed, you know, Japanese contracts, like entirely Japanese. I didn't speak any Japanese to start with. This was before like GPT was a thing. So you couldn't just like plug it into an LLM and say, please translate this for me in legal language. It was like going through line by line with a translator to get it done. So even like contracting,
man.
yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. And like you don't know what you don't know, right? So like if we wanted to contract them, like share all the working materials with us, like we didn't know what to ask for at first. And we made our best efforts, but like it was definitely a process we went on with the studio and with the creators. And like, you know, I think like 1 month in, they're like, you know, they sent us some draft drawings or something. And we're like, oh, great, can't wait to share that with the community. And they're like, why on earth would you share a draft drawing? Like, and I was like, it's in the contract. And they're like, you just don't do that. Like, no one shares these drafts. Like the artist might be upset that the like quality's not as high as the final thing. And I'm like, you did sit through the meeting where I explained the whole thing. Like, you know, this is a journey we're bringing the community on and like showing them everything. So definitely took a while to set expectations, but we got there in the end. I think we did a good job. So
I'm curious what the business of anime looks like, or the business case for producing this pilot looks like. And then, so I guess like, you know, how does this make money? Does it make money? And then ultimately, how do you think about involving your community in kind of the upside of what you're building?
That's a great question. The thing is, like the flip side to anime being more popular than ever is that like producing anime is maybe the least profitable it's ever been in some ways. Like people definitely make money, but I think increasingly it's like it gets captured by, you know, it could be overseas streaming companies now, could be just at the publisher level, like merchandising, you know, all that sort of stuff. So like a big issue generally in Japan is that the studios, like the actual people creating the anime, probably had the least upside in any of this stuff, typically speaking. They often don't own the IP, like some famous studios do and like make a real strong effort to do that. But mostly it's like work for hire, and you know, it's a passion industry, so people are prepared to endure pretty bad conditions to like make the anime they love. But yeah, making anime is not great, and the economics of like being paid to be on streamers is not great. Like I think, you know, we were even, I don't know, I probably can't share confidential figures, but like some of the offers we got, even just for the pilot to like have it exclusively on certain well-known platforms, was enough to maybe buy our team like a big lunch or something. You know, it was pretty gnarly. So like typically you'd have a production committee like fund these things, and the different company, like it's an assembly of companies, and they all have a vertical, like one does merchandise, one does music, one does streaming, one does whatever, and they all kind of monetize their own little thing. But we did this entirely independently, so there's a handful of us like working to do that. So partly I see Galverse as like a crowdfunding kind of campaign on chain, like that's sort of the initial case of it. And then I think we have plans on like where to go next with this, and we're obviously the pilot is kind of like a Web2 friendly artifact. We can take that to publishers and investors, because there are a lot of investors in the anime industry now, and say like, let's go make a series. We've proven this lands with people. There's hundreds of comments from Gen Z kids saying this made them cry. Like, that's good IP. Like, let's do something with it. So yeah, we're working on a few things now.
I mean, go, Jess.
No, I was trying to catch up, Josh. Go jump.
Yeah,
I loaded up the YouTube video here, and then it started. I was like, "Oh yeah, let's go!"
great time to watch the 20-minute.
I'm not clicking around. I'm flicking. I'm interested.
I mean, Jack, like fill us in on like where you go from here, either with this pilot or kind of the bigger Galverse vision.
Yeah, I think like one nice thing is like the anime has been all consuming for most of the last 3 years. Like we have done other projects, like even little tech things like this VTuber, all the gals in the NFT collection of VTubers, and we've like been pretty forward thinking on like AI tooling and like making our own image models and things like that. The obvious thing is like now we have really great materials to like improve our own models. So like whether that's better images or like starting to dive into kind of video generation as those tools like get better and cheaper, and we can train our own stuff there. So like we really think about like how we can enable our fans to like spread the world and look and feel of Galverse and like tell their own stories there. And also now like we have bandwidth to think about more projects. So I'm talking to some, like obviously on the team, we're coming up with ideas, and talking to some really awesome other players who you've spoken to on this channel before, I think, like about potential like crossover projects and things like that. At the end of the day, like, we're a small team, so we got to be pretty clever about how we operate and what we do. So I've got some, and I'm a crypto bro at the end of the day, so I've got some fun ideas there. But yeah, I think Galverse forever is the goal. Like, how do we make this a sustainable IP? How do we let people play in the world of that IP and like create their own stuff? And like, how do we keep ourselves going as a creative studio and make more anime, make more manga, things like that? Yeah.
The VTuber thing is really interesting. Like I think there was a lot of hype around it, and some really notable streamers popping up, and I think you guys did some fascinating things with the art, the IP that would make that very easy for creators to use. But it seems like that whole category, at least in my world, has sort of fallen off in some way, and it seems like it's been replaced by AI companions in some way. And so and it opens up the question for me of like what are the new opportunities for existing IP in this AI companion world? Because it seems like there's sort of been this era of like first mover advantage. So whether it's characters.ai and people just being enamored with the fundamental ability to, talk with these characters. But I would imagine like having some IP, having community. I'm curious how you sort of would explore or think about that opportunity to get into more of the virtual character world.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think like on the topic of like companion chats, I mean, I might have even shown you a demo back in the day, but like we had a rough kind of thing going with Gal VTubers probably close to a year ago, and just on like the bandwidth side, we didn't have the at the time the anime was eating our life basically, so we didn't have the time to turn that into a polished product. But like there are so many opportunities there. Like you said, character AI I think is a great example of like role playing and storytelling. I think if even with a small team, like you can create experiences for like multiplayer kind of storytelling in a world too, which is like quite compelling. And essentially, DX Terminal I think is a great example of like AI crypto kind of crossover, like a unique experience, and actually pushing boundaries in not just like the crypto world, but the AI world in terms of what they were doing with like agentic experiences and things like that. So, we look at stuff like that. And yeah, I just think yeah, like for us, it's been an unlock since day one. Like it's changed our workflows, it's changed how our community interacts. And like early on, I was terrified about like getting people to contribute to the anime like character designs, because no one's I'm not an artist. I can't draw a stick figure. Like how is someone like me going to contribute? And then Midjourney came out like a week later, like the first kind of consumer like Discord version of that. So like it's just been an unlock at every stage of the process for us. And it'll
bullish idea, guys. The creative abilities that come out with all these tools.
Yeah, big time.
Exciting.
And the nice thing is independent IP. Like we own the IP. We're an independent studio. We kind of like no restrictions on our end. So a lot of bigger IPs are a little more risk averse, I think. And so that's our edge in some ways. Like, what can we do to move faster and beat them in that game?
Incoming only gals.
That's right.
Don't do that. That's not.
no.
Jack, I think we got to leave it there, man. Thanks for hopping on and catching us up, and congrats on the very hard-won release of your pilot. And yeah, when you guys have something new to share, we'd love to hear about it.
Thanks so much for having me. And quick chill, I'll be at ETH Tokyo giving a little talk. So if anyone's there, please come along and say hi. But thanks so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Amazing. Cheers.
Thanks, man.